Раньше в нашей империи было принято знакомить своих детей на балах с людьми своего класса.
Но не возраста детей, а гораздо старше.
Ну, может быть, но это чтобы не смешивались...
Я читал у Толстого.
Чтобы не смешивались богатые и бедные. И сейчас в нашей стране хотят возродить такую традицию.
Наконец-то!
Are you expecting someone?
Few friends. Just a small dinner party.
What are you serving?
An omelette.
An omelette? Aren't you living a little above your ration?
I saved 2 eggs. And each of my friends is bringing his own. We'll manage.
Just goes to prove the theory of our state. If you stand alone, it means a boiled egg. But if you're true to the collective spirit and stick together, you've got an omelette. That reminds me, have you heard the latest they're telling about the Kremlin? Well, 1 minute. I'll tell you later. That Gurganov. You never know whether he's on his way to the washroom or the secret police.
You should be more careful, Anna.
And you too, Ninочка.
About what?
Oh, ever since you have been back from Paris,
I haven't talked to anyone about Paris. I haven't said a word.
That's just it. It makes people feel queer, and I don't want you to get in any trouble.
I have nothing to hide.
You should. I'll show you. When I passed through the laundry yard today, I saw all the women huddled around this, so I brought it up here. Things like this create a bad feeling. First, they didn't know whose it was, and then they saw the Paris label, and did it start a commotion? Some said it's what we all ought to wear, others said it's like hanging foreign ideas on our clothesline. It undermines our whole cause.
I see.
You know how it is today. All you have to do is wear a pair of silk stockings, and they suspect you of counter-revolution.
Thank you, Anna. I'll dry it up here when I wash it next. I should hate to see our country endangered by my underwear.
Ninочка, I'm your friend. You can trust me. Did you bring back anything else?
No. I left everything in Paris. I just happened to be wearing this.
Tell me, what else did you have?
Well, a hat.
What was it like?
Oh, it was very silly. I'd be ashamed to wear it here.
As beautiful as that. What else? Come tell me.
An evening gown.
An evening gown?
Yes, it's a dress you wear in the evening.
What do you wear in the morning?
When you get up, you wear a negligee. Then you change into a morning frock.
You mean to tell me you wear a different dress for different times of the day?
Yes.
Now, Ninочка, you are exaggerating.
No, it's true. That's how they live in the other world. Here we're dressed to cover up our bodies, to keep warm.
And there?
Sometimes they're not completely covered, but they don't freeze.
Hello. I welcome you all here in Pushkin House. My name is Margarita Kuleva, Dr. Margarita Kuleva, and here's our project, which is called The Arrival, and that's a concluding event of 3 performative lectures we actually started while arriving. The first talk, called The Border, surprisingly happened while crossing the border between UK and France. In the tunnel, in Eurotunnel, despite all of the complicated obstacles we had to overcome. The second one was devoted especially to vehicles and Russia as a way of travel, or Russia as a ship, or even an ark. And if you go to Pushkin House YouTube channel, you can see much more of that. So with this lecture, we want to arrive, and we want to signify that Russian culture, despite all the obstacles, despite all the more and more complicated bureaucratic regimes connected to pandemic and Brexit and all other hell going on this planet, that is present, and it can be disseminated, and all of us can actually be agents in this process of travel. So because of these two entering video fragments, the first one is a very popular evening show, which is called Evening Urgent, or Вечерний Urgent. Urgent is the surname of this TV star. And the second one is an excerpt from Ninechka, which is a 1939 movie with Greta Garbo. And that's so interesting, not only because that tells the story of a Russian bureaucrat that comes to the West, and then what happened to her, and these very intimate details, like her underwear, which actually became very political. So with this framing, we want to give you some insights. So first one is a mixture of Russian culture. So here you see a lot of elements, starting with this famous projection of famous painting by Pushkin, and with these Russian scarves that are neon. So there are some adventures that are going to happen to all of us and to these little bears, Mishki. So the installation will change during the evening. So what we're going to present today is going to be a bit of time travel. So, well, as I hope, I look kind of 30s, so I'm a guest. So I'm actually a guest. I'm a Russian professor. I hardly look like that, but I live and teach in Russia, and that's a question of knowledge production and knowledge dissemination. To me, that they are central issues of the whole project, and this evening in particular, how we can be all agents of Russian culture, and how we can produce it all and consume it all, like this beautiful Georgian food, together. So what's going to happen today, except of some adventures that are going to happen with Mishki and us consuming this beautiful Georgian food and wine. So this very experimental dinner is a mixture of formats. So we see it as a performance art. We see it as an academic conference. And today, you're gonna hear 3 or 4 talks by artists and academics, and like intentionally they're not announced, and maybe they're just sitting next to you. Let's see. So there will be 3 takes in Russian culture from very unusual point of view, and then we're going to do something collectively, and there will be a character we'll all be playing with. So enjoy your dinner, enjoy your company, and finally I want to give a short introduction to 2 of my friends, and the name of both of them is Sasha. So in front of me, this is Sasha Dmitrienko, also known as Shura Stone, one of the most popular media artists in Russia. And that's the other one. This is Sasha, or Alexander Pushkin. So who is also, Sasha is our host, Sasha Dmitrienko.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah,
Good evening.
Yeah. And this Sasha is also our host, because we are in Pushkin House. And this is so amazing, because actually this Sasha, he never had an occasion to visit not only this house, but also the UK or England or any other country. He had never been abroad. This person that symbolized Russian culture. So enjoy our hosts, and I am the guest. That's the name of my character, and in space and time, as a little bit of Ninочка, yeah. Let's just enjoy the dinner, and there will be surprisingly sudden talks coming. So I welcome you all. Yeah, glad you make it.
Thank you. Can I move him? So you're guests tonight, you're my guests. I'm gonna sit next to everyone tonight, little chat. How you doing? I'm good, thank you. Sweating. Please help yourself with the drinks. Margarita got really good taste in wine. I love your dress. So Christmassy. Margarita, how was travel through the La Manche?
Like a very long travel, because we actually filmed our first lecture during our journey. So it only made possible from third attempt. So was really challenging.
Okay. Ну, пойду. I'll leave you with Alexander Sergeyevich. Девочки, с вами посижу с фанатами. Какое твое любимое мое видео?
Все.
Прекрасно. Спасибо. Ну, давай не забывать сегодня лекции Маргариты. Так. Прекрасно, сделаем. Вам с архитектурной точки зрения. Прекрасно. Все будет сделано. Прекрасный вечер, гости дорогие.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the dinner and you feel as cozy as a communal apartment kitchen full of your friends, intellectuals and artists. And you enjoy this lovely, well, elegant, at the same time, kind of homemade food, which is Georgian food. I give you this reminder. So we continue our program with talks, and that would have a look at Russian culture from a very unusual perspective. And I want to present our first speaker, which will be Dmitry Suslov, UCL lecturer, and he just passed his Viva, and a couple of weeks will be doctor, but to me he's always doctor. Dr. Dmitry Suslov, we welcome.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Hello and welcome. You've been here a while, as I have as well. But today, Margarita, I'm also a guest. I'm a guest of a guest, so I'm a meta guest, I think. And I've been invited to talk about my research, which focuses on Kaliningrad. And I thought, such a beautiful Christmas party or pre-Christmas party, and I want to talk about something quite beautiful and warm. So I thought about that amber would be a great topic to talk about. I will be very brief. I'm wearing an amber ring as well, which was given to me by a friend just now, which looks quite beautiful. Not my size, but yeah, good. The famous amber room, which again is this bizarre phenomenon of German and also Russian culture. And I think in a way it could be argued that it's a monument to obsession with detail, and it's in as much a monument, sort of a work of art as a work of obsession and mania, and I think it certainly is. Can I show the next slide, please? So amber, unfortunately, there was meant to be a beautiful video there, which didn't work. So I'll try and be as as performative as I can without the video. But when Kaliningrad suddenly became part of Russia in 1946, it was I quite liked it actually when it was rescued, but it's fine. There was no, this was a new region for Russia, a newly formed part of the war loot, I think, and it was very important for the local propagandists to sort of establish a brand, and amber was a very natural, in all the respects, a natural material, natural choice. As early as 1947, there was a first radio broadcast talking about amber, and it was the entire radio broadcast about amber, how important it was for the local economy. And in 1949, just a few years before Stalin died, Kaliningraders, the new people of the Soviet region, sent him their first gift, producing Kaliningrad. So the amber industry was already up and running. As I said, Kaliningrad and amber are sort of united, and in many respects, Kaliningrad, amber, as you know in Russian, is, or many of you know, is yantarь. And one of the local small towns used to be called Palniken in German, is now called Yantarny. This is the place where all the amber is mined, and there's a huge amber hole, which is a performance venue, which is there. Can we look at the next slide, please? And this obsession with amber as sort of part of Kaliningrad daily life, quotidian life, was something that a German duo, which I really need to read their name to pronounce because I do not speak German, and I probably will violate the language anyway, but I'll massacre it. But it's, if you do want to know their name, I'll tell it to you later. They're called, one moment please, Empfangshalle. What wasn't as hard as I thought. This is a duo from Munich who were invited to Kaliningrad to do their first sort of work there. And a lot of people who come to Kaliningrad always obsessed with the German history and traces of German history. But what those artists saw was this proliferation of amber literally everywhere. Wherever you go, and the next slide will show it to you. Maybe we can just quickly look at the next slide very quickly, the daily amber. In fact, my first trip to Kaliningrad, I'm not from there, I'm from Minsk myself, but my first encounter with Kaliningrad entails a lot of amber. Amber was literally in every corner. There was an amber Putin, there was an amber Russian coat of arms, a tiger, Kant, of course, 2 busts of Stalin and a kitten, a dog. This is just an assembly of different amber things you can find in Kaliningrad. So if you go back to the previous slide, please, Dennis. Yeah, so when they saw that, it was a natural decision. I'm not sure how many people were in Kaliningrad, but the monument behind is the sort of the monument, which I'm sure a lot of architectural specialists can talk more in more detail. But it's the first sort of modernist construction, which wasn't really finalized, and it was the Dom Sovietov, the House of the Soviets. which was never finished, and the locals always call it, or there are different nicknames for it, but one of them is Чудовище, monster. And so the German duo came up with this idea of Красавица и чудовище, Beauty and the Beast. And what they did was a beautiful public artwork. They invited people to submit photographs of their beloved girlfriends, I mean, in a very sort of patriarchal way, next to their favorite car, which is another important brand of Kaliningrad. And those photographs were uploaded onto the website of GTC, which is the State Center of Contemporary Art, if it's the correct interpretation. And people were voting for the most beautiful woman and the most beautiful car next to the monster. And finally, the winner was depicted in amber in this final artwork. If we move on to the next slide, please. So as I said before, amber is everywhere. Amber is Kaliningrad. The brand is really well and firmly established. The middle work there, the busts of Stalin I talked about, were produced by inmates of a local women's prison. The Putin and the tiger are souvenirs you can buy in the airport, and so it goes on. But while I'm talking about this idea of the amber room, which is sort of the epitome of Russian culture, which was, as you know, looted by the fascists in the 1940s when they occupied Leningrad and also Pushkin. It was one of the primary works which were removed from its location. And ever since that, the search for the amber room, was ongoing. People were obsessed with finding it, and Kaliningrad, Königsberg, was the last place where the amber room was actually displayed. So naturally, people were looking for it there. Was to no avail. It was never found. But this obsession with finding the amber room was, actually still ongoing, despite the fact that in 2003, the great simulacrum, the amber room, was brought back to St. Petersburg after decades from the 1970s. People were trying to restore it, and it's finally back in Pushkin in situ in a sort of, it's a copy of a copy without a copy, as the tale goes on. But I'd like to conclude my quite little introduction to Kaliningrad's amber with the next slide, the true amber room, which I do think is another beautiful example. So this is the amber room, as it says there, of Sambir Hotel in Kaliningrad. And this not only shows the vernacular idea of the amber room and the total installation and all those ideas which could come to your head, but it also goes with the idea of medicinal qualities of amber. So in fact, as the hotel states, spending a short period of time in the room will cure some of your illnesses, which I think in the current climate might be a very useful thing indeed. Anyway, I'd like to conclude here, so thank you very much for your attention, and cheers to our guests and Amber, and thanks very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Forever Amber.
It was very ambery. Any questions? Any questions about amber?
I'm sorry, Dima, but Polish people also have an association with amber.
Yeah.
And they consider amber to be a uniquely Polish thing. And I think the same is true of Swedish people and Lithuanian people and Estonian people and Latvian people. So can you name a specificity of Russian amber that makes it different to the other ambers?
Well, it's a very good question. Thank you, Michał. I don't know if you can hear me. That's something I really needed to talk about. Amber is, of course, the epitome of the Baltic coast, and it could be found everywhere. I'm not so sure the Swedes really associate their identity with amber so much, but the Russians and Latvians and Lithuanians certainly do. I don't think that there is any chemical, biological difference between ambers found elsewhere, but yeah, I think maybe culturally you wouldn't find an amber Putin in Latvia, perhaps. So I suppose that might be the key distinction I can name now. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Dima, thank you very much. I've got a question. So, because like what I do now, this is this performative research of Russian culture in motion, Russian culture while traveling, but. Actually, the mainstream of my research is devoted to cultural labor in Russian art institutions, and I have a dream. I have a dream of a paper. How boring is that? So I always wanted to write about style and fashion among cultural workers in in Russian museums. But during my interviews, what I noticed is that among quite advanced museum workers, especially female workers, the top chic of style is amber, and if you occupy a top position in a museum hierarchy, then you are allowed to wear really large amber necklace. Could you possibly comment on this obsession and latest fashion in Russian museums?
I am very intrigued to hear this detail, Margarita. It certainly is quite fascinating. My research into amber is indeed very new, so I don't think I can comment on this just yet. But it's a very interesting idea of cultural significance of amber, and also artificial amber, which is made of plastic and could be found everywhere as well. I don't think I'm using the mic correctly, am I? Oh, am I? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. It was very good. Thank you. Applause, please.
I would take this chance to present our next fantastic speaker, which is Dr. Michal Moravsky from UCL. And Michal will present. Let's welcome. Our talk. So Michal, as far as I remember, we're gonna present another element of Russian culture with kind of hidden.
Plitka, paving stones. Yeah, plitka means paving stones. So I'm going to talk to you maybe for 40 minutes now, 45 minutes, maybe an hour and a half about plitka. And I'm completely autistic, so if there's something about you that's suggesting you're bored, I'm not going to notice, and I'm just going to carry on talking about plitka. I'm also going to talk about asphalt. Actually, I'm going to start by talking about asphalt, and in particular, I'm going to talk about the asphalt in the 1920s and plitka in the 2010s. The Bolsheviks, when they came to power in the good old days, they fetishized asphalt. They thought that asphalt needed to be laid, and they thought that proletarian legs should walk on asphalt. And the cobbles have to be ripped away from the streets, and they have to be replaced with asphalt. And then when the Sobyanianites came in the 2010s, by the way, the legend that Sobyanin's wife, Ira Bordiura, had a plitka factory, and that's why Sobyanin, the mayor of Moscow, was laying so much plitka all over the city, is false. It's a false legend. She does not have a plitka factory. She's a teacher. However, there are other family connections to plitka in the municipality which are slightly more complex and capillary. And so there's truth to the legend, but it's covered behind the oversimple legend, whereas the reality is more complicated. Anyway, I'm just going to read some citations I'm going to quote some people who have written or spoken about Plitka and Asphalt. And I'm going to start with the 1920s, and I'm going to start with Mayakovsky. Mayakovsky wrote a poem in 1924 called Vladimir Ilyich about Lenin after Lenin's death. And he doesn't talk about Plitka a lot in the poem, nor about Asphalt, but he talks about cobbles. He says, here, every cobble knew Lenin in person. So Lenin still knew the cobbles because he was living ultimately under the old regime. The cobbles knew Lenin, but they despised him, and Lenin despised the cobbles too. And they wanted to rip his head off, and he wanted to rip the cobbles from the streets as well. Then Mayakovsky writes another poem 2 years before this poem, actually, so my temporality is confused, called 150 Million, which is the population of the Soviet Union at the time, in 1922. And he writes about the necessity of exchanging cobbles. What's the word for cobbles, actually? I've forgotten in Russian. Suffocated by dust and gusts and many unpaved and rickety miles, tired of loitering convicts, now we want to be covered by asphalt. So the cobbles are demanding to be replaced by asphalt as a condition of the success of the revolution. Then Bulgakov, in the same year, Mikhail Bulgakov, the author of novels that you will be familiar with, writes a short story called, I think it's a short story, Bog Remont, the God of Renovations in 1922. In the autumn, watching the asphalt cauldrons sparkling with hellfire in the streets, I shivered with joyful anticipation, a sign of no less than a renaissance. So this is how excited Bulgakov was about asphalt in 1922. He was shivering. He was literally shivering. And there were numerous scientists too. There was a professor of psychology called Ivan Dyakov who was running the Urban Psychology Institute in Moscow, whatever it was called, who also was very excited about asphalt, replacing asphalt, cobbles with asphalt, because only tarmac paving kept in perfect conditions on streets and sidewalks allows the fluctuation of the height of the feet on average less than 4 centimeters. There was a very solid scientific justification for the replacement of asphalt with, of cobbles, reshotka with asphalt. Yeah, and in Popova and Rodchenko's Moskva rekonstruiruется book from 1938, they also talked about the exciting development that new Moscow has replaced cobbles with asphalt. And you can find, and I could stand here for hours and give you more quotes about the evil of cobbles and the glory of asphalt. If anyone's interested, I shall. But I will skip 90 years to 2010s, to the new era, which political scientist Sergei Medvedev christened the era of Plitka, Epocha Plitki, the era of Medvedev and the era, Dmitry Medvedev and the era of Sergei Sobyanin, and the husband of Ira Bordura. During this time, people have said similar things about about Plitka, as they previously said about asphalt. And people have expressed their hatred for asphalt, which has proletarian qualities, which is savok, which reminds them of the obsolete character of the Soviet Union and the obsolete character of the people who would walk along that asphalt too. So Grigory Revzin, who was at one time a radical architecture critic under the mayoralty of Yuri Lushkov, and then became a vlastolubny samodurok under the era of Sobyanin, in 2016 wrote, instead of asphalt pavements, there ought to be, this is the manifesto of Blagoustroystvo, so a manifesto of the transformation of Moscow that Revzin published in 2016 in various outlets. Instead of asphalt pavements, there ought to be stone surfaces, podiums for an urban fashion parade. At street level, there ought to be a park atmosphere. Instead of walls, there should be mirrors, shop windows, and advertisements, so that people can constantly and unobtrusively delight in themselves from the side. So, in other words, asphalt is more suitable for the environment and for the purposes of kind of narcissistic self-love and self-adoration that the Blagoustroystvo of Moscow was supposed to generate. Another writer similar to Revzin in character and position goes on to say, city dwellers behave in an unconscious way, like animals. They don't like slithers of asphalt in the midst of traffic jams. They intuitively migrate away from such places. To walk, they need fresh air, and they react in an automatic way to fresh air and to plitka, like a flock of sheep react to fresh grass. So here, the ideologues of Blagoustroystvo are comparing the people of the city to sheep. They are animalizing the city dwellers. And then he says, those warriors against the evil regime who say that asphalt is no worse than plitka, they will never have an impact on people's behavior. So there is a conscious ideological campaign against asphalt going on right now, as we speak. It's happening. It's happening. Who would have known? And then perhaps the most powerful, this is back to Grigory Revzin. This is a Facebook post that he wrote in 2016 or 2015, I think, in response to what he saw as the excessive politicization of plitka. He writes, a consensus has formed of hatred towards Blagoustroystvo. Intelligent city dwellers, sensitive to the fate of Russia, look at plitka, and in every one they do not see granite and a segment of pavement. No, they see rubles stolen by a bloody regime, trampled democratic ideals, and the tears of Ukraine. Our plitka has taken on the characteristics of an innovative psychotechnological material. In every plitka, there is Putin. And he draws life power out through the legs of thinking and feeling pedestrians. Sobyanin lays down the plitka in order to make us weaker with every step. And this is, of course, Revzin's sort of classic Styob, sarcastic, cynical device of saying that, shut the fuck up, there is no Putin in the plitka, it's just the plitka. And then I'll just finish with a quote from an interlocutor of mine who, when I moved to Moscow to research Blagoustroystvo in 2017, or perhaps when I was leaving in 2018, she or he said, when Navalny comes, he will bury us all alive under our fucking plitka.
Thank you so much. Any questions?
I have one. Okay, Dmitry, would you reply to me?
Well, no, it's a question, it's not a reply, but thank you, it's very interesting. A comment about cobbles. I'm not going to make it now, but I'll talk to you later about cobbles and Kaliningrad. Very interesting point. But another point I wanted to ask you, I don't know if you ever came across it, the ogrodzenie betonowe, the płoty which are produced in Białystok in Poland. I mean, I don't know, have you ever came across this phenomenon? And there's a particular style of this wall which is like a protective wall which is made of concrete. And it's a particular style which I think is made in Poland, and you can see it everywhere in Poland and, east of Poland and Belarus. And it's sort of private houses use them, and it's sort of a decorative combination of concrete and sort of pseudo-retro style. I don't know.
This is not P42, the famous Soviet fence.
No, the later
that Sasha Brodsky has made.
No, it's a contemporary. It's a more contemporary fence, and it's kind of a very ubiquitous design in, I think, eastern Poland and definitely in Belarus, and all the private houses, katedry, use it. So I don't know if you've any looked at them at all.
I've never seen it. I'd love to see it and to own some, if possible. So if you can have some arranged to be delivered to my flat.
Yeah, I'll talk to my people, and they will talk to your people.
You talk to my people. Yeah. Before Christmas, if possible.
I'll try my best.
Catholic Christmas. Okay. There was. I think there's a comment here.
Okay.
Who's first? Rita was first.
No, you go ahead.
It's okay.
You're the guest of the guest.
If I may, the sidewalks are also places where we walk. And on the sidewalk, we find all kinds of people. They pass, they come, they go. And in a day-to-day, we meet more people on the sidewalks of every distinction than you will ever meet anywhere else, even in your dreams.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's true. Thank you. It's good to think about that. Who's the most interesting person you've ever met on a sidewalk? And why did you use the American terminology?
Because I have an interest in American politics because it's great theatre. You can see stuff in American politics because the media is free still. So they tell you stuff, but in other states, it's to a degree controlled. We want freedom of people. So when you're on the street, you're not being rigidly controlled. So you walk past people. You can say hello, goodbye, my name's Fred, your name's Louise, whatever. It's just something that is completely natural. And if we can return to a natural order of man, we will know what civilization is really all about. Thank you.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. That's inspirational stuff. I've always been very impressed with American sidewalks. As like a poor child from Eastern Europe, I've always thought that American sidewalks have a particular quality to them.
Well, our sidewalks, we call them pavements. And pavement is usually done with a stone or with a concrete slab, but it's something that is usually level and it gives you the impression you can walk along without tripping over. But look at this. I was on Clapham Common and I hit a root and I just went bang. And it's a big root that stands out from the common. And I'm asking myself, why they allow such roots on public pathways that can cause injury? But the thing is, pathways and pavements are where people walk. Yes. Just a completely natural space.
And as Gorky said, the person sounds proud. Człowiek звучит, how do you say, dumno? Gordo. Rita?
Yeah, I have a comment. So maybe, well, there are roads and there are different ways of putting plitka on it, and there are certainly different types of pavement stones. So as far I recall, there was this guy, Gidibo, and friends of him who would say that's a beach under pavement stones. But брусчатка пляж. So does this work only for Paris, exclusively for the baths? So what's under plitka?
Dead bodies, rubles stolen by a bloody regime, the tears of Ukraine. Revzin says it himself. But I mean, in Moscow, there are just other layers of plitka because the plitka is laid and relayed twice a year sometimes, or once every 2 years at minimum. So there's plitka, and then the plitka gets removed and more plitka gets put on it. So it's like a hyper plitka universe.
So do they just add extra layer?
No, I think they remove it. And they have, they have Gastarbeiter that they exploit for 20,000 rubles a month to lay the plitka for them. I think time to move on to the next the next topic.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Rita.
Thank you, Michal.
Thank you, Michal. Thank you. Beautiful speech. Thank you.
Dear colleagues, may I have some of your attention? No. It's okay. So I feel you're hungry, like intellectually hungry. So it's time to announce our next talk, which will be talked by Nika Dubrovskaya, who will get back in a second. She's right back here. Nika is an artist, an independent researcher, and very informally, Nika would just say a few words, and let's just have a look at Nika and her beautiful hat and dress. Let's all welcome Nika Dubrovskaya, who now is a Londoner. Congratulations.
So, eating this wonderful Georgian food and listening to the amazing talk of Mikhail about Russia and Mayakovsky, I was thinking that I don't have a talk, actually, I have a toast. And yeah, it's very personal because I'm now finishing a book that I started with my late husband that's called Uprising, the illustrated history of uprising. And it was published in Russia actually as a children's book by a publishing house called Samokat. It's called Nespravedливость, Injustice. And so my toast is for revolution, and I invite everybody to think about what would be their ideal revolution, how they could imagine that. And I want to share my current opinion of what would be my ideal revolution. And thinking about that, I want to recall that in Latin, proletariat means reproduction of offspring. And growing up in Soviet Union, I was taught in school a lot about proletariat and proletarian revolution and how to conduct it and so on and so forth. That was my school regular days. But then if you think who is actually this proletarian and who is reproducing offspring, we think about women, because women are not only biologically reproduce other human beings, they also reproduce them in many other ways. So who is librarians, who is teachers, who is nurses, who is cleaners, it's mostly women. So I was thinking that my ideal view of revolution, if this particular class of people, the proletarian, the people who is actually reproducing life instead of human beings, instead of reproducing things, like a physical things, and reproducing power relationship, then if this class will take over the power somehow, and then concentrate our life on human reproduction, then we will live in a very different world. And the last things I want to say is when I have 2 kids, so I was thinking that how mothers take care of their kids. When they raise them not to be efficient most times. They want them to play and they want them to be free and happy. So my toast is for freedom and care as a replacement for production and consumption.
Freedom and care. To freedom and care.
Thank you, it was very touching.
We accept, let's just also, we accept no questions at this point, but there will be one more talk, which will be mixed media talk in few minutes. So now enjoy your food and wine and your beautiful neighbors. Dear all colleagues, friends, students, supervisors, all of you. So it's our pleasure to represent our concluding performance, which will be by Masha Komarova, a Russian designer who came to this event against the obstacles, against all the restrictions from Moscow. And I'm really grateful to Masha, not just to take in, this kind of brave position and come from Moscow against it all. And I hope that I can make it back just as well as Masha. But let's see what's going to happen. And the duration of our travel is really unpredictable. And also, I would be really grateful to Masha, because Masha is, as she says, half of brand Viriya, which is one of the leading fashion brands in Russia currently. Which globalize a lot of Russian natural characters of not only high fashion but also folk culture of Russia. And for the two performances, which is again, I do promote it, and will promote it, which are available on Pushkin House YouTube channel, the one at airport hangar and one at crossing the border. I wear Viriya, so I'm very grateful that Masha agreed and Igor agreed to collaborate and just gave me this fantastic clothes to do my performance. Thank you. So I give the floor to Masha and her mixed media performance.
Thank you, Rita. So I'm not talking very much. It will be a tiny talk. I'm much more into emotions and experiences. So I want you to see the part of the Soviet cartoon, which every Russian kid, like so many, 100 times during our childhood, like every, festives, every New Year Eves, you spend maybe 2 weeks at home watching TV, so lots of cartoons. And this one is based on the Alexander Pushkin's fairy tale. So I think it's kind of symbolic that we are now in the Pushkin House and we will see this fairy tale. Also, I think it's quite great that we could gather here and watch some kind of TV and eat at the same time, because it's also a Russian festive tradition, because every Russian family gathers around the Christmas table maybe around 6 p.m. every December 31st. And waiting for the midnight, we always watches lots of TV shows, some cartoons, movies, and now we can do something of that. And I want it to be like a background for our talk and for the rest of our evening. And like a Russian culture, which is always somewhere near you and on the backdrop of like every occasion, these cartoons would be like the backdrop of our evening and be a part of your experience and maybe your identity for a while. Thank you.
Три девицы под окном пряли поздно вечерком.
«Кабы я была царица, — говорит одна девица, — то на весь крещеный мир приготовила б я пир. Кабы я была царица, — говорит ее сестрица, — то на весь бы мир одна наткала я полотна. Кабы я была царица, —
Третья молвила сестрица,
— я б для батюшки царя родила б богатыря.
только вымолвить успела, дверь тихонько заскрипела, и в светлицу входит царь, стороны той государь.
«Здравствуй, красная девица!» —
говорит он.
«Будь царица и роди богатыря мне к исходу сентября». Вы ж, голубушки-сестрицы, выбирайтесь из светлицы, поезжайте вслед за мной и за сестрой. Будь одна из вас ткачиха, а другая повариха.
Царь недолго собирался, в тот же вечер обвенчался. Царь-салтан, сапир честной, сел с царицей молодой.
A very come here with a very sudden but at the same time long expected guest. This is a squirrel, and squirrel is not only Pushkin character from Лукоморья, и орешки все грызет, а орешки непростые, в них же ядра.
Золотые ядра чистый изумруд.
So squirrel, it's not only something. It's a girl, by the way. Something we can find in Alexander Pushkin's poem, but also that a very naive tourist would immediately trace in London, in a very unusual non-human connector of different cultures, and also quite a kind of a good survival under very difficult conditions. So in this concluding speech, I really want to thank Pushkin House, and that's an amount of love and respect we send to Pushkin House, actually. We really want to thank Center for German and European Studies and DAD, German Service for Academic Exchange. We want to thank Fringe and UCL, and of course Michael's Collective, Performative Power Vertical, of course, PPV, and HC University for bringing our students here as Nikita Yurov. And not least, I really want to thank the beautiful team of this dinner, which is Alexander Mitenko, aka Shura Stone, which is our beautiful... So the speakers were already mentioned, but who's not mentioned is our beautiful stage designer, Rita Hakkarainen. Rita, would you show up for a second? Rita! That's beautiful. Yes, Rita made these projections, and Rita made the scarves, which are totally fantastic and mind-blowing. And I want to thank again my team, including Sasha Utu and Nikita Yurov, who's here. Nikita and Robin Mitchell, who unfortunately can't be here, but who did so much for for this project. So to the square, to unusual connection of cultures, and I'm pretty sure if we want to, there can be so many more of them. Let's just toast. Let's have our vodka for it. Cheers, cheers. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Yeah.
And I just want to say thank you to Margarita who made all this. Thank you, my love. Cheers, everyone. До дна!